Thanks, Josh. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. I tell you what, Josh is right. It's been 22 years since I've been in this cafeteria, and I'll tell you it's changed a little bit. If you're a teacher or you've been a teacher, raise your hand. Just raise your hand if you've ever been in education. You know what's amazing? When I got here 23 years ago, all the teachers sat right over in that corner. Every one of them. We'd come in, walk around here, and go to the cafeteria lines, come back, and we'd all want to sit right back up here. Right? So that's how it works. Now, I will tell you, I left Switzerland County, joined the Marine Corps. And one thing my dad said to me as I left, he said, "Rod, make me proud." That was it. Just that simple. Hopefully I did that. Those of you that know, my mom went through the halls of this school for a short period of time. Had me at 14 years old. Dropped out of school. My mom and dad, who raised me, were my grandma and grandpa. Neither one of them graduated. I'm the first graduate in my immediate family. Now, I'm 18 months away from the doctor. So, that's the thing. So, as I start tonight, I want to tell you, Josh is right. 1997, hopefully I did make my dad proud. I was the East Coast Aviation Marine of the Year. 1998, I get out of the Marine Corps, I go into the business world. Worked for a Fortune 500 finance company. Started with a 6-figure income. I started managing a branch. Started looking to take over the entire state. As I'm looking at Illinois, Michigan, we start going back and forth. And trust me, Michigan is basically Detroit when you're in finance. It's not the place you want to take a family or start a family. My wife and I have been married 10 years at that point. Her family were all educators. She said, "Rod," she said, "I love spending time with my mom and dad traveling across country. I loved having the Christmas breaks. I loved having all those things that we really think about, but things that white teachers really got into." But more importantly, they were a family. I had to make a decision. Is it money or is it family? I said, let's go back home. Right? Switzerland County has always been home to me. Whether I was in Paris Island on the East Coast, on the West Coast, at Camp Pendleton, back at Camp Lejeune on the East Coast, or traveling around, where I've been in Decatur County as an administrator, Ripley County as administrator, now Monroe County as administrator. When anybody asks me, I always say, Switzerland County is my home. You know, there's 5 or 6 generations of Hite buried out there in the graveyard down the road, and there's a little dirt, dead lane road with the 4 letters on it, say H-I-T-E. So that's always home. Now, people say, well, you know, you were a sergeant in the Marine Corps, you managed a finance company, you know, you got the pretty thick skin. Yeah, maybe, but I'll tell you right now, you get thick skin when you're a junior high principal. Alright? And the reason I say that, you know, my wife is a 2nd grade teacher, and we went to a Christmas party this year. And I had another teacher from the elementary school walk up to me, and she says, "Rod," she said, "my son's in your school, and he's just loving it this year." I said, "Thanks, I'm glad to hear it." He said, "You know what?" He said, "You look like a movie star." All the boys got together, and they came over the other night, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm just like this ride." And we said, "I watched you." Man, Brad Pitt's got blonde hair. And I'm thinking, well, you know, Tom Cruise, a little bit older than me, maybe that's who it is. And I just could not figure out who it would be. And so when she tells me, I grab my phone and I Google it real quick, and I flip it around and I show it to my wife, and I said, "Mandy, does this look like me?" Actually, yeah, it does. Sometimes you just got to own it, right? And so it is what it is. Now, I want to tell you about education. The reason I want to tell you about education is near and dear to my heart. It's not a stepping stone for me. I've got a 5-year-old who just had kindergarten registration. I've got an 8-year-old who's in public schools. My wife teaches public school in 2nd grade. I'm a principal in public school. It is the cornerstone of my life. It's who I am. But before I can tell you where I want to see education go, and leadership and a vision of what I need to see as a principal that walks around the halls of schools every day, I got to tell you where we've been. We had a primary cause in 1900 to 1910. I stole this from Dr. Jeff Butts. Jeff is the superintendent at Wayne Township Schools there, which most of you know has been named 16,000 students, 87 administrators, you know, a huge school system. Just saw him present. I said, "Jeff, you mind if I steal this?" He said, "No, I stole it from somebody years ago. I don't even know who it was." So 1990 and 1910, we had 3 primary colleges: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Speed up a little bit, 1920, 1940, we added a few things in education, but we didn't take anything off of it. We started half-day kindergarten, which was a big thing. But for the first time in America, we fed our students 1/3 of their daily meals right here at school. So they put that responsibility on educators. They didn't take anything out of reading, writing, and arithmetic. 1950 and 1960, some of you may remember this because some of you might have been in school then. They added safety education, driver's education, expanded music and art education, foreign languages, sex ed started in 1950, 1960. Everybody's come back from the war talking about where we're going to start our families. 1960, 1970, AP programs, consumer education, career education. Remember, it's 1960s, peace, leisure, recreation education. Nothing else came off the plates of an educator. 1970, 1980, special education. As Adam said earlier, talked a bit about Fed regs, effective regulations. You're going to hear a little bit about that again tonight. It's mandated by the federal government. Title IX, greatly expanded growth programs. These are all great things we needed. Head Start, parent education, behavior education, character education, and now we're serving breakfast. Students get 2/3 of their meals in schools every single day. They never took anything off the educator's plate. 1980, 1990, the world's becoming globalized. Remember Sony? You got all these Japanese things we thought was going to take over the world, all these Japanese import cars. We start talking about global education. We also start talking about multicultural education, bilingual students, preschool programs, full-day kindergarten starts, stranger danger, child abuse and sexual abuse, anti-smoking campaigns come to schools. They didn't take anything off their plates. 1990, 2000, HIV/AIDS. Well, remember Ryan White, if you're here from Indiana. Deaf education, expanding computer internet, inclusion. Inclusion basically means special needs students start coming into the general classroom setting. Getting education in our urban centers, bus safety, bicycle safety, and gun safety. That basically was an educator's job in the 20th century. In the 21st century, all these things got added to the plate. Nothing was taken off. And I'm sure we left a few things out here. Ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, when you have stuff like this that you got to deal with every single day, it's bigger than just a classroom. That's why we need leadership in education today. We need a vision. We need a visionary. We need somebody who can see through all the obstacles and all the problems to show us the possibilities. Despite all this, it's a great time to be an educator. I'm going to tell you right now. As a social studies teacher, it's near and dear to my heart. Anytime we've had something that is extremely explosive to our country to its feet, whether it be the women's right to vote, integration of schools, civil rights movement, it made our country better. Education right now is going through some turmoil. Don't get lost and drugged down in all the mud. Good things are happening in your school systems. I promise you that. I see it every single day. I see educators working their butts off. My wife driving down here for 2 hours today, grading papers on her lap. Right? That's a teacher's life nowadays. Indiana, we need an educational vision. We need a 2 to 3 year game plan to get us back on track. We need a 5 to 10 year game plan of where we see education in Indiana. You know, right now we've got new accountability systems coming in, ADAP grading system, new standards, new tests for their freshmen who are coming up. If you got a freshman one getting ready to go through, they're going to have a test added. Sophomores are getting new parts. Additional tests being brought in all the time. New testing format with technology enhanced. Don't get me started. We just practiced tests this week. You know, alternative tests for IEP students are diploma track right now in grades 3 through 8 because they said, you know, Rod, we weren't able to pilot that program, and we got to run it a couple years as an operation. So now we got to do an operational pilot. It's going to count. We can't waive any of that because of this federal mandated waiver. Guys, you're going to hear people at the Department of Education tell you our hands are tied. We came in, this is what was going on. I'll tell you right now, that's bullcrap. The reason I'm going to be able to tell you that is because there are things happening at central office levels that are changing as well. Collective bargaining, transportation issues, corporations throughout the state, tax cap funding issues, building project issues. That takes a vision to overcome those issues. You need to empower superintendents and principals on the local decision, which Adam was saying, to put a game plan in place for you locally to spend your tax dollars the way you need them spent. Right now, when we fund, which is Mr. Fry talks about, it's based on head count by students. Those of us in rural communities, many times see declining enrollment. That means you're losing dollars every day out of your general fund, which is how you pay your teachers. Your property tax caps are how you build your buildings, maintain your facilities, and take care of all the other things that go on around here, like your transportation and fuel budget and bus replacement. You got to understand where your tax dollars are going. How do we turn these challenges into opportunities? Talk to any teacher who ran for a train wreck in 2015. This test coming up is going to change who we are. It's definitely going to make Indiana look different on the national map. Guys, we've got great things going on in our school and classrooms. That vision was not communicated out to us. 2010, there was a roadmap put in place, and I think Adam, you can help me out with this. I may have already skipped past a slide here. That roadmap that was put that roadmap that was put in place told us You're going to have an operational test in 2014-15. Right here. Dr. Stacy Hughes, the Assistant Superintendent of the Indiana State School Board, Common Core Standards. It tells you in these Indiana Common Core Standards, the IDOE, if you look right in the middle, will unpack these standards and roll them out in the curriculum out to tell your teachers. Give them those 2 red lines Adam's talking about. And they're saying, this is what needs to be taught when and where. Give that scope and sequence is what we call it. So what depth you need to do it. That was rolled out to us in 4 lines with percentages that told you this was the weight of the emphasis. And it varied between 70% and 130%. What it really meant for teachers, your guess is as good as mine. But you still got a job to do, you're still going to be held accountable for it. The roadmap was in place in 2010. Linda Ritz came to office in 2012. She went in, anti-testing, anti-accountability, anti-contracts for teachers, and hey, I'm going to get all this changed. I got news for you. None of it changed because it's part of that Fed reg, it's part of that waiver. She's been there 2 years now, 3 years now, coming in. It's her new waiver. They wrote it. They know it. She knew it going in, and if she didn't, it's because she came out of the library and hadn't worked her way through the system. You know, Dr. Mike Wilcox said over here, he's my superintendent, Richland Big Blossom Schools. He's held every job you could have in the school system. I've been everything from a classroom teacher to an athletic director, an assistant principal, a coach, transportation director for ECA activities. He's been a transportation director for our entire school corporation. We know when you hold those roles, you learn different things about the job that you didn't know coming into it. When you've been a special needs teacher and a librarian and all of a sudden you're thrust to the top of the podium, there's a lot of things you don't know. And you've got to surround yourself with the greatest people available. She has not done that. We've lost our track in education. We've lost where we're going. And you're seeing that fight take place because now you're seeing legislators get involved to try to get us back on track. Right? They're saying, hey, this is the wrong way, where we need to go. We've got to get back over here. We've got to understand there's still a mission at hand because really we've got to focus about kids. And all of a sudden you get the school board going the other direction. And you get people pushing back against her and trying to do some things, you get her basically walking out of meetings. Guys, your kids deserve better. My kids in schools deserve better. My wife deserves better. The principal sitting across this table, you know, Travis Short sent to Jacksonville, he deserves better. We can't have people get up and walk out and quit on us in the middle of a meeting because it's not going the way you like. The next thing we were going to do, this is still that 2010 memo, new anticipated testing in 14-15 at the IDOE. This is what's coming. It tells you in the top block. It says the test will be broken out over the course of a year and culminate at the end. Oh no, now we've got these huge test windows you guys hear about in the media that makes us look bad because it got put off. It's all of a sudden it had to happen. Yeah, these were Common Core, but anybody who looks at Indiana College Career Readiness and they really look at it in depth and they know it, it's Common Core like a pig with lipstick on. It's still there. How would the IDOE help? And it tells you what you're going to do for English language arts and math teachers because that's who their tested areas are and how the training is going to be rolled out for those teachers through the ESCs and by the IDOE. Never happened. I'm spending your tax dollars to hire subs 6 and 8 a day in addition to my regular subs to give my teachers full days 6 and 8 times over. So 36 to 40 highly qualified teachers, not in front of your student, but sitting in a room to break out and unpack these standards the Department of Education is supposed to do for us. Spending Title II funds. Why do I have to do that? Because teachers are working 16-hour work days because they're grading papers in their lap right in the road. Right? They still got to get everything else done that's on that list. And now they've got to do this job too. Teachers are drowning. I'm also an IPLI mentor. That's Indiana Principals Leadership Institute. There's 20 of us across the state that mentor about 50 principals and try to teach them how to do their job better and make sure that they can be more efficient at what they do. I just showed you in 2010 to 2015, we had a 5-year transition plan on how to unpack those standards right here and provide resources for teachers. We had the IDOE come in. Danielle Shakti, Bill Reed, their math curriculum expert and whatnot, and present to all these people. And if you go to IPLI's website, the DOE presentation is still up there. Here's their best guidance. Google search for extended response questions. If you can't find anything else, Google search it. That slide's still up. You can go look at it. That's part of education's PowerPoint, not mine. Guys, that's the direction we have given us in the field every day with everything else on our plate. We need something better than that. Your kids need something better than that. I tell my teachers all day long, go to the Illinois School Board of Education website, and they have every single lesson with resources embedded in scope and sequence that you can click in and find that resource and pull it up and contextually add that evidence. Any English language arts assignment, any math assignment. We have teachers going to the Dating Institute out of Texas to look for things. I have teachers going to Engage New York to look for things. When you have Glenda Ritz get up and talk to you, she's going to say, well, we're not going to give on this bar study. And that's her. And we expect a 30 to 40% drop in performance in the state of Indiana. She's going to try to cast that blame right back. Because every time you hear it, you hear the GOP. You don't hear it's me. True leaders don't cast blame. That's my brother-in-law. He's getting ready to retire from the Marine Corps. Marine Corps leaders do not pass blame. I never would, I never will. I don't do that as a principal. I'm telling you right now, we need somebody to stand up and say, I'm in charge. Follow me. I'm going to take us there. This is where we're going. Taxpayers deserve better than you. Superintendents understand budget and analyze costs, and they look for shared services. Exactly what Mr. Fry was just talking about. He and I never communicated coming into here, but I'm telling you, my vision matches very closely what he was just talking about. A visionary leader provides a detailed roadmap. A leader surrounds themselves with the best. That has not happened yet. Parents deserve better. They deserve an elected official who communicates what's happening in the educational ground on a macro level. They don't cast blame, they see opportunity and challenges. They understand that blame and credit are the same thing depending upon the outcome. If you want one, you better be willing to take the other. Superintendents deserve better. A partner who gives them a local voice. Lets your Switzerland County needs be communicated back to Indianapolis. Mr. Fry, I've been to your house probably 4 times in my career, 5 times in my career. Even when he would invite the superintendents, he'd invite me in. Dr. Wilcox and I have been there together. He was our way of communicating when Glenda Ritz took office because we couldn't get a voice back. He would have them come down, they came down to explain the growth model. And I asked him a couple questions on the growth model. And retired superintendent out of Rush County, Dr. Williams, was there that day. He was still active then. He said, no offense, gentlemen, but between the two of you, you don't have enough gray hairs on your chin to answer this question, I feel, because they start struggling. Because his answer was, it's kind of like when we put a man on the moon. I can't tell you how they did it, but I can tell you they really landed it. That was their answer. Am I wrong? So, principals deserve better. An advocate that will empower principals to run buildings with true local oversight. An expert team to provide guidance to the field. Accountability needs to be on those running the operations of the school, but also the Department of Education. Guys, I will tell you, I've been a principal now at Decatur County Schools, Ripley County Schools, and I'm now in Monroe County at Edgewood Junior High, working with the superintendent there, working with things at the high school, the elementaries every day. As we work on things, my job's not to fire teachers. Never has been. Talk to any teacher I've ever worked with. Our job is to mentor teachers. I tell them every single day, I work for you and you work for the kids. The minute you stop working for the kids, you start working for me, and that's when it gets uncomfortable. But not until then. Go out there and inspire a kid to be better today. Right? That's what we need, but we need to empower those principals to do it. Right now, the evaluation system, I got an active principal right here to tell you, we walk into a school system, we walk into a classroom, we do a short observation here in our laptop, and we plop down and they know we're there. Game's on. We come back for a long observation, and many school corporations, they get to pick the periods you're coming in, and they get to pick the classroom set of data that's coming through. So obviously they don't want to pick their high school kids, whatever else. How many jobs do professionals literally have somebody follow them around the clipboard for 1 hour a year, 2 hours a year, check marking everything off, and then coming back and saying, yeah, they did pretty good that hour. That's not how evaluations work. That's not how you mentor people. We've got to get real with things. I'm going to tell you right now, I was cut through the crap in a heartbeat because of that Marine Corps background. Maybe because I grew up here in Switzerland County. I got news for you. You've got to be able to have a conversation with educators on what's really happening in schools. Teachers deserve better. A leader who provides professional development opportunities as educational demands increase. Performance-based pay needs to be expanded as testing areas are expanded, not testing is expanded. Sort of what Adam had there when he drew those lines a little wider. English language arts is embedded every day with non-fictional text from science and social studies classes as well. We need to divide that test into thirds, spread it over the year. I never mind giving a test if there's one outcome. I can use that information to make a student better. If you give a test and you do nothing with it, never give the test. It's not worth. Right? And when ISTEP was never designed to be a summative end-of-the-year test, bang, you're done. 1983, Nation Risk comes around. Ronald Reagan starts to put a few things in play. Iowa Basic Skills Test was given here at the school, and I remember 1987, used to take it back in the fall, they would have marched us all down right here in this cafeteria. We filled in that Scantron. That's when I stepped at the road. Remember that, Glenn? Right. We all took it. You know what? I forgot I had even taken it until my mom just died recently, and I went through all those suitcases. Like mom did, they keep all that stuff, right? And I found my ISTEP results. I thought, holy crap, I can take that. So I had to look it up. I Googled it, by the way. I didn't know how that was the first year. Right? So as I started to figure this out, I realized it's always been there. Don't make it a monster. Don't let social media and somebody else spin it into something it's not. It's still English language arts and math. Right? It's reading, writing, and arithmetic. Hoosiers deserve better, but most importantly, students deserve better. They deserve individualized instruction based on mastery learning. Instruction should be adjusted using data to address student needs. See, my mom had me at 14 living with my grandma and grandpa who didn't graduate from high school. I was an at-risk kid. I just didn't know it. Right? Many of us grew up around here with our parents working at the shoe factory, Randall's, or out the plastic factory. We didn't know we were at risk. Right? We just knew we had to go to school every day and give our best. See, that's something that's taught to you when you're growing up. Give your best. Now you got Rocky Killian, and you know what? I don't know Rocky, so I don't want to put him on the bus. Superintendent of the year, he says, ladies and gentlemen, withdraw your kids from school during the ISTEP window. What are we teaching kids by avoiding a challenge that doesn't even go down in a grade book? What are we teaching our kids from escaping something that, you know what, it's reading, writing, and arithmetic? I'll guarantee you, I give pep sessions before I do my ISTEP challenge. I give rewards to kids for maximizing their effort. You 75% of your time, guess what? You get a blow pop if you're going to my junior high school. Kids, junior high kids, they'll flat out kill you for a blow pop. Right? And they give it everything they got. We need increased flexibility with online learning opportunities. We need better preparation for true college and career-bound students. SAT and ACT, we do not need this AccuPlacer that they're taking. The new test that they want to put on the new accountability system has high school students taking a test their sophomore year that is not even counted for a grade. It's not about performance. It's counted by participation rate, every kid that takes it. Right? And we'll write that in. There's some of our people sitting on that panel. But we got to be careful about those things. The ASVAB test, you want to know a college career real aptitude test of what you're good at? Take the ASVAB test one time. It'll tell you where your heart lays, where your thought process goes. Greater ICE or vocational job experiences. Exactly what Adam just showed a video about. We've got expanding opportunities for our kids to get out of the classroom and go. You know what I remember my senior year in 1993, the fall, probably 1992? You may remember the tornadoes came through Switzerland County, knocked out all the barns. We went up to the office and signed out all the juniors and senior boys. Were you in this, Lincoln? I remember that. And we went out and helped pick up those barns and put them back together and rebuild this county one by one for juniors and seniors. I guarantee you those juniors and seniors have those opportunities today. I remember that. I don't remember that, the ISCA test. I don't remember that. But I remember that day. I remember that week. Yes. Right? Interventions are necessary, but I'm telling you, so is recess. I've got a 5-year-old. I've got an 8-year-old. My 5-year-old is heck on wheels. Right? He doesn't need medication. He needs an active release sometimes. We have confined down and pushed so tight. How are we going to do 90-minute reading blocks? And what's going to happen that we only have one recess a day in many elementary schools? The way we change that is looking at how we set up our allotted time for schools and empowering principals and educating principals on how to do things better. I'm going to give you an example of that. Edgewood High School last year was a 4-star high school. All the Edgewood elementary schools were a 4-star or an A school corporation. They were an A school. Dr. Wilcox got credit for that. But the junior high was a D. How in the world do we have all A kids coming into our junior high and we have A 4 students coming out of our junior high, a focused priority school? I walked in and I simply, from 2 hours away, never being at the school, I walked in and I started looking at how we had things set up. We were on a 6-period schedule. We had 5-minute passing periods. We had classrooms scattered all over the building. I said, we're going to redesign the school. We're putting all the 7th grade teachers down here, all the 8th grade teachers over here, all the 6th grade kids in this back hallway. All the kids are going to go to the gym. We're going to release them out. 8th grade first, 7th grade first, second, 6th grade last. And so this is never going to work. All the teachers, this is not going to work. I said, we're going from a 6-period day to a 7-period day, and we're going to have 4-minute passing periods because all their classes are going to need to be nearby each other. We're going to put lockers in that area. So why? See, because there's an expectation for me that I'll hold the teacher accountable that they're going to start every class with a bell ringer. So that means as soon as the bell rings, they should be working on something as they walk in the door. And I never want to see a group of kids piled up at that door because I'm going to walk in your room and I'm going to call you out on it. My teachers knew this because I set that expectation as a principal on day one. There's no standard, there's no rule, there's nothing in the book says you can't do it. And they said, well, it's 1 minute. I said, yeah, 7 times a day. I said, 7 minutes a day. It's okay. I said, 5 days a week. It's okay. It's 35 minutes. It's okay. It's 36 weeks. It's 1,260 minutes. I have 50-minute class breaks. That's 3.5 additional instructional days my kids picked up. I never brought my buses in a minute earlier. I never took my buses home a minute later. It's maximizing the resources you have. It's making people understand that you can be better with slight change. How do you go from good to great? Indiana's right there. We're on a cuss rate, 80% pass rates almost across the state. How do we go from good to great? How do we become #1 in the nation? I'm competitive, as Josh said. I'll tell you right now. I bet on a coin toss. Guaranteed. But principals need to know how to do that. That's why I became an IPLI mentor to teach principals how to redesign and relook at things. Take a fresh look at it. Step outside the box. It's okay when I receive an email that's 4 pages long from a teacher who said, I've taught in that room for 23 years. If you put me on an interior classroom, I won't have a window. I said, that's okay. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, it's in the best interest of the kids. Think about the kids. What's best for them? That same teacher came to me, I don't know, probably about a month ago. She's close to retirement. She walked over and she said, you know what, this year you've given me new life. I believed in what we're, because I got news for you, 6th graders are scared of one thing, 2 things when they come into junior high school. Lots on lockers and big kids. So by letting all those 8th graders out and go one place and letting all my 7th graders out and go another place, and then releasing my 6th graders in one dedicated hallway with nothing but teachers out there, I brought down that anxiety level so they can learn again. Right? So they can focus again. We need leaders in schools that can do that. So how do we bring Indiana to a better spot in education? We must understand the difference between perception and reality. Perception is college career readiness standards were thrust upon us in April of 2014 and rolled out a month before school dismissed. Right when master schedules were already made. And they're going to tell you, the Department of Education, this was forced on me by the legislature or by the Indiana State School Board. It was always somebody else's fault, yet I've been here for 3 years. The reality is that roadmap was in place in 2010 but never carried out. We need that transition map. I need a visionary, steadynaire that can look at things right in the eye and call it for what it is and come back and say, I know how to help you. I know how to help your teachers. I know how to provide resources so that they can focus on teaching, individualizing the kids, and stop spending 3-4 hours a night after school to go to a 30-minute lesson plan the next day. Because that's what's happening every day in the homes of your educators. Understand educational culture. Great principals are leaders who motivate teachers and students. Principals work for teachers and require teachers to work for students. The roles change from a disciplinary to a curriculum leader. Yeah, do I have knuckleheads every now and then? Yes, I do. You know when you have knuckleheads in school when they're not engaged, when they're not learning. That part you were just talking about. That's when they get off task and kids get in trouble. You keep them engaged, you show them authentic learning. You know what? Kids don't get in trouble as much. I say as much because I have a lot of parents come in and they say, gosh, Robbie, I can't believe my son would do that. So, you know what? Your son's over there 13. Right? It's part of growing up. We've all been there, right? I mean, that's just part of it. Kids are going to make mistakes. It's part of growing up. That's that squiggly line. You're going to take steps back. And they have so many different things happening in their life that we've got to be able to understand what they're going through before we can show them where we want to take them. We've got to build those connections again. Great superintendents hold principals accountable and communicate to a community vision and proper financial long-term planning. And Dr. Wilcox is working right now. His schools are not paid off for another 7 years, Dr. Wilcox. He's already building a game plan for 10 years out in the corporation he's in so that when that money falls off, he can add, remodel, do what he needs to do to the school with zero impact to the taxpayer. And he's bringing in stakeholders from all around the community to have input in that. 10 years out. What are we going to do 7 years out? What are we going to do 5 years out? You need visionaries in your schools. Superintendents work with community partners to expand resources by minimizing tax impact and understand local circuit breaker impact. And I don't want to get too deep on the circuit breakers because that's 1%, 2%, 3% tax caps. Those are all things we go to school for. And those are all things you hire and elect school board members for to hold us responsible so that we don't spend your money the wrong way. Right? But remember I said you hold us responsible. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why your school board's there. Those are great people. I'm telling you, they dedicate their lives to kids and they get very little back out of it, and they get an earful anytime you change something. You know why I know that? Because I've been watching Switzerland County get football. Because my son, I opened up with his very first football game this year at IU Memorial Stadium. I watched him take his very first snap ever in football uniform on the 30-yard line, right, as a quarterback. Very proud moment for me. And I always said, from that point forward, and I see my son out there, it brings it up in me that I would always want him to go back to a school where he has the opportunity to do all these different things, right? You want to provide opportunities for your kids, for your grandkids, for your nieces, for your nephews. Get involved in schools. Talk to your local school boards. Find the struggles that they're doing, right? Superintendents value stakeholder input, and they clearly run school corporations in all aspects. Your board hires your superintendent to do a job. They run the rest of that school. If somebody else is not doing their job in that school, your superintendent better hold them accountable, or your school board is going to give you a new superintendent. Am I right? If not, and the school board is running your schools, that's called the tail wagging the dog in our industry. And we don't want to be there. And that's kind of where we're at, and that's why you're seeing different changes take place right now on our state level when it comes to school boards. Understand growth and how it works with students. We're in a current system that's called a 4 data point system. No matter if your kid is the lowest performer or the highest performer, but compared to all kids in that class across the state of Indiana that way. We're going to a 2 data point system. I'm not going to kid you, it doesn't go with what everybody says, but I don't agree with it. Because now it's where your kid enters Mrs. Smith's class and where he leaves Mrs. Smith's class, and how well did your teacher do with that kid? Not how well did your kid grow across the state of Indiana. Take that part out of the teacher evaluation and put it in a school-wide learning model so that all teachers, not just English language arts and math teachers, come up with solutions to make that kid grow in all aspects. That's how we make that work. Remember, testing is part of American society. Who sells insurance? If you ever somebody say that, maybe you originate sell insurance. You take a test, sell insurance? Absolutely, right? Driver's license, you should test, get one. Where's our attorney at the back there? I know we got one, right? You took a bar exam. Doctors took a test. If not, I guarantee you wouldn't be going to that doctor, unless somebody went to Dr. Schwartz back in the day. General contractors take a test for their licensure, you wouldn't let them build your house. Mechanics take a test. Teachers and principals take tests. For the most part, some of those teachers didn't, like my mother-in-law. They're all grandfathered in there on the life license. Most factory jobs have an entrance exam, and the U.S. military takes an ASVAB test. It's part of who we are. Don't have kids escape it. Have them embrace it and make them realize, give your best. All at once, 100%. Everything else doesn't matter to them. Here's our continuous improvement. What is it we expect students to learn? How will we know if they learned it? How will we respond if they don't? And how will we respond if they already know it? That's what educators do every day. But we do something else in addition to that big list, what you just saw there. We bring the intangibles of life back. We celebrate maximum effort. We reward students for their best. And we teach solid work ethic to approach all life challenges and opportunities. Most importantly, we want to educate students today to become responsible citizens tomorrow. That kid might not graduate and go to college right away. I didn't go from high school to college to high school. Right? I went to the Marine Corps. I went to the business world. Then I went back to college at 27 years old. That's the difference between making it out of Switzerland County High School and graduating magna cum laude and eventually getting my master's degree and now going back and get my EDS degree. Right? So you find focus, but at the same time, that kid that graduates, maybe the kid that graduates moves into the house next door to you. What kind of intangible quality traits do you want them to have as a young man or a young woman living next door to you? You want them to be a good person. That's what educators do every day as well. Celebrate your local successes. Switzerland County is an A school corporation. Jeff Craig is an A school. Switzerland County Elementary is an A school. I still see the 4-star banner hanging up out there from years ago at Switzerland County Elementary School. That's a proud thing. You should be proud of it. Switzerland County Junior High. I see the big sign over there. They're an A school and they're proud of it. Switzerland County High School received a bonus with over 90% of their kids passing into the KDCA in 1 year. Teachers are proud of that. Kids are proud of that. Be proud of them. They work hard to get to it. Trust me, they're working their butts off. Locally, you got Southwestern Hanover, who's seen a double-digit increase in student performance in recent years. Ripley County, when I became an administrator, 5 to 16 schools in that county were in A. Now 14 to 16 are in A, and 7 of those under the newest release. It's kind of, it's kind of embargo right now. But the results came out. 7 schools in that county are a 4-star school. We're beating Carmel, Indiana. We're beating Fishers, Indiana. We're beating Hamilton Southeastern schools. with 60% free and reduced rates, with 50% free and reduced rates, because we're connecting with kids. And we're doing all those other things I was talking about. As principals, we come together and communicate all the time because of the fact that the Department of Education is not giving us what we need. Dearborn County schools from focus poverty status straight to A status. Our needed vision, we need to understand our ultimate goal as educators, understanding that every kid matters, college bound, military bound, career bound. Develop school leaders who restore schools as a community hub. You guys just won a sectional this year. I remember 1988 winning the sectional, going to Richmond. Right? We go up there and we play in Richmond, and it didn't turn out real well for us, those of you who went to the game with us, right? Woody Austin, that's right. Lit us up, didn't it? But at the same time, I remember every storefront in town was all painted up as we left town. That's because we all knew blue and orange. See, when I see blue and orange, I don't think Florida Gators, I think Switzerland County. I haven't been in this cafeteria in 22 years, but I still think it's Switzerland County. I see SC, I think it's Switzerland County. The first time I saw Silver Creek, those of you know where Silver Creek High School is at, it's SC and they're blue and orange. I thought there has to be some kind of infringement there. That's not right. That's not right. But at the same time, it runs deep in who you are. Just like that little green road sign that says HITE on a dead-end dirt road becomes part of your culture. Be proud of it. Make that school the hub of your community. That's a great thing in Switzerland County. You've got one school. Every single kid that walks through here will forever become an alumni of Switzerland County. And our ultimate goal is for every single kid to come through here and graduate. We've got to see that vision together. We've got to hire, support, and hold accountable school leaders who will motivate, mentor, and empower our teachers to expand our classrooms beyond the brick and mortar walls. Some of our kids do not come in here every day and sit down in that chair and go through that line and do different things and excel that way. We've got to find those opportunities for those kids to get involved in other aspects of education. We need an educational leader with a vision that understands the basics of our jobs as educators and the management of schools. You know, Glenda Rich will be the first one to tell you when she stands up there, she's a nationally certified board teacher. She puts the initials after her name. She's proud of it, right? She may have been a fantastic librarian, but we need her to go back to the library and motivate those third grade kids to read, right? We need a leader in that office. We need somebody that's willing to give us a creation of a roadmap with embedded resources for our teachers. We need funding proposals that level the playing ground, not based on student headcount as much as student needs. We need proactive solutions, not reactive rhetoric. I will tell you right now, working with Randy personally and some other people in this room, there are people working on that right now. You got to get out there and communicate with them, let them know where you're at. We need a vision, an accountability system where ISTEP was never designed to be that summative test. We need to show student growth throughout the year, not just on one year-end test. We need to make sure that we focus on student success and not just test scores. This will allow our teachers to take on those large opportunities for student growth in those at-risk rooms. We need those at-risk kids still reached in every single capacity. Visionary leaders do not take charge of a situation because they want to stop progress. They rise to the top by creating energy through common focus. They understand reality, but they understand that there's also possibilities beyond what some people see as limitations. There is not we call it a college career readiness test, but there is not a single third grader or eighth grader who can ace that exam and step out and go to college today or go on to their career. We need more common sense, not more common core when it comes to some of the things we do in education. This is how I developed my mission in my life. Marine Corps tells you we make Marines, we win battles, and we return good citizens to society, and I guarantee you that is true in all aspects. That's lived with me, and today I try to create lifelong learners, win the hearts of children, and educate students today to become those responsible citizens of tomorrow. They also taught me God, country, and core. Today I look at it as God, family, and school, because that is the cornerstone of my life. See, on the inside of my wedding band, it's engraved Semper Fidelis. Marines always say Semper Fi, always faithful. Inside my wedding band, because it's beyond just your fellow brother Marine. It's also every single student, every single family that lives in my community and comes into my school. It's every single kid that comes in front of me. I'm always faithful to your cause and where I'm at. Right? Because remember, I work for teachers who work for kids, so ultimately I work for those kids. I work for those families. That is my job. Our mission going forward, what I'm going to ask you to do when you leave here tonight, talk to some of these educators. They'll tell you, I'm telling you, I'm shooting straight. I'm trying not to give you anything that's tough. I'm telling you that 75% of voters don't have student assistance, but but they know someone who teaches, a child, or they have a grandparent or an aunt and uncle that knows somebody that teaches that's a friend of theirs they go out and communicate with. You got to get the word out. Because right now the word that's out there is, Linda Ritz got more votes than Pence. 1.3 million voters, can't be wrong, this, that, and the other thing. I'm going to tell you right now, nobody knew who Linda Ritz was. She did not get voted into office. Tony Bennett got voted out of office. We got to own that too, right? It was not a vote for her, it was a vote against him. We got to learn from our mistakes if we're going to regain the faith of our students, of our families, of our teachers, of our community, and let them know who we are as educators. And Republicans care about kids quite a bit. See, it is our life as well. We've got to shift the fight for the big kids and start focusing on the little kids again. That's what we need to do in education. And that's my mission I'm asking you to go out with today. Most of all, you're awesome. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.